Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today with episode 251 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
And it's me, Karak with ACG.
Karak, as always, I'd like to know, how are you doing, my friend?
Absolutely excellent, man. It's been fun. It's been a cool, busy week in a weird way.
Busy week.
Well, maybe not always cool. There's been some shitty stuff, but overall.
Yeah, I feel that way too, man. I've just been, I feel old lately. I didn't get to tell you this when we were doing our little talk before the show like we normally do, but I said last week, like, my knee was bugging me a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I didn't stretch, and I went on a jog, which was just stupid of me. And then, so I've been nursing that for about 2 weeks now, and right as we're starting to feel better, I had to move some furniture over at my grandma's house, and we had to lift a pretty heavy chair, and guess who strained their lower back now?
That's a bitch too.
Yeah, man. I thought I was fine, and here I'll paint a picture in everyone's head. Maddie comes out for some dinner. I go to bend over to get some baked beans to put on my plate, and man, I could not go like a quarter inch forward. I was like,
that's the worst feeling in the world. Lower back is the worst.
I know, man. I couldn't believe it. And what's funny is when I was on stream, I told everyone, like, all right, I got to sign off. I got to go move furniture. And the stream was so sweet. They were like, oh, Matt, like, lift with your legs, which my dad, he has a bad back, so he's always emphasized that. I could have sworn I did, but I must have did something wrong at some point in the lifting process. And that's all it takes. One grave error, and I was punished like a goddamn Dark Souls game. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we hope you're all doing well, taking good care of yourselves. Welcome to our weekly gaming show where we just round up all the highlights of the week and we banter about them. This week we have exciting things ranging from Mass Effect returning, which we talked about last week and have been talking about for many months on this show. We also have Jedi Fallen Order to discuss, the Xbox, quote, gameplay reveal, end quote, event, which has been kind of dragged across the internet so much that even though it was the biggest news this week, we kind of made the decision we didn't want to highlight it in our show because just so many people have been talking about it. Yeah. We want to give you guys more fresh discussions up front. Also, we've got Mortal Kombat 11 getting a brand new expansion. We'll be talking about that. The Last of Us Part 2 has gone gold. We'll revisit this topic, see how we're feeling about that. And then, as always, at the end of the show, the longest segment of the show, we get into the patron questions. We answer what you guys have asked us. One of these times, I'm going to say, like, the longest section of the show, but we're going to have, like, 3 questions waiting for us in the Patreon Discord. Anyway.
Somehow I'll turn it into the longest section, though.
Yeah, true. you or me. One of us, man. But, Karak, what are you playing? What are you up to? How's your Patreon going? Anything you want to promote?
Patreon's been going good. I'm doing... I was going to do a video on the board game simulator I've talked to you about, and when it didn't record because the hard drive had died, which I told you about prior to this. Yeah. So sent that in and waiting for that to actually be fixed, which is expensive as fuck. So I sort of took a day or two off because I can't really do a lot. Even streaming was difficult. Luckily, some of the podcasters had my well, they didn't have the thumbnails. They had a couple bits of art I could use. I have been playing a ton of D&D using Tabletop Simulator, and then strangely enough, some mobile games, just not microtransaction style, but like on my cell phone, just, for the hell of it. And then, oh yeah, dude. So I got to tell you about this. Let me see if my Steam's not up. I'll worry about it later. But God, I can't remember the name of the game. Damn it. Oh, SnowRunners. The same one I told, the 4x4 game. I ended up playing a bunch of that over the weekend, and strangely enough, my wife was like looking over my corner, and she's like, "What is that?" And I'm all, "Oh, it's like she's like, "Is that Monster Trucks?" Because it sort of looks like Monster Trucks, and I was all, "No, it's just mudding." And she knew that when I was younger, I lived in the woods, so like we would do that. She's never done it, and it's slow. It's like top speed 6 fucking miles an hour. Like, that's what it feels like, at least. So she saw it, and this is the first driving game where she's like, well, can I try? And, dude, it was like an hour and a half later, and she's just, and I've never seen her play a racing game in my life. And she was just like, I can see what's happening now, because most games are so fucking, even like a game like you and I like, Horizon is still pretty, you got to be on it.
It's fast.
And that's not her. She can methodically, though, explore. And that's what that game's about, is like exploration. And so that was cool to see somebody who isn't a huge gamer play it.
It's funny you mentioned that. That's how my girlfriend was with. I put her on BioShock, and even that, the combat, the enemies can just jump right in your face, and it
Yeah.
can. If she hadn't played games in a very long while at that time, it could be kind of just hard to take on. And when she picked up Persona, it was like, okay, I can walk around the daily life, take my time. Combat, there's no time limit to your turn. You just can figure out what you got to do. So I get you on that. Yeah, those games are like perfect for people like them who just need to methodically do things.
Yeah. And
so
move from
I'm a
there,
fan of
maybe
them.
even like, from that point on, at least they know the general thought process. It's like, but
Yeah,
before that, it's too busy. Like there's just too
yeah,
much going on.
yeah. I feel you on that. On my end of the spectrum, when it comes to the Patreon, I am going to announce, I haven't done it yet as we record the early access for this show here, but I'm going to announce kind of like a video schedule plan for the Patreon, because it's been about 2-3 weeks, I think, since I've done a Patreon video, because I was doing a ton of unboxings on there. I did like 2 or 3 in a row.
Yeah.
And I was just like, you know what? Like, I want to give them something different, because what I did was I had this game collecting idea where I will just like order online on eBay a random game lot. I'll get a box and we just open it. And some of the game pulls I got were absolutely hilarious. But the issue is obviously just getting tons of boxes in the mail probably right now isn't the best idea. The other box I had was a care package from Sega. They sent me for Vanquish and Bayonetta releasing, which was cool. I got a shirt, the game. I have yet to play Vanquish because I've been so busy with other games. But so I have this plan to release a new video schedule, because I wanted to, really think it out so I have a game plan moving forward and don't overwhelm myself at the same time with the rest of my content. So that'll be live over the weekend. I'm going to the studio tomorrow to furnish it out more. As I was telling Karak, we're adding in a TV that my brother got me for Christmas, a new microphone, some sound foam. So finally, the building's been cleared out for long enough that we can safely go in now and make good use of it, and I can stop working from home, which would be nice. So those are some things happening on the Patreon. I'm sure one of those videos will be I know one of those videos, rather, will be a tour of the studio space.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So that's what's going on my Patreon right now. When it comes to what I'm playing, I don't think I've got much to say this week, because it's just been more Persona 5 Royal. 93 hours in. I'm just entering the 6th Palace. I think I've got 3 more left, so I'm definitely going to be beating this game at like 150 hours, I'd say. Thoroughly enjoying it. Still easily my favorite game of the year. I find it very hard to imagine any other game knocking it off the list. I know some people would say, well, that's kind of cheap because it's 5 with additions to it, but the additions are not only substantial quality of life improvements, but it's like every step of the way the game has been vastly improved into just a JRPG that it's really hard to imagine games trying to get above that until the next Persona game comes out. Like, it's that good. It's just the way it's created, so well thought out. The characters, everything about it's just thought-provoking, and it's all interconnected. I made a whole video on Colin's Last Stand if anyone wants to check it out, just trying to highlight how it's kind of like a building block game where you start off with this foundation of the daily life and the mystical nightlife of a Persona user, and it's just like building upon building upon building, where you go to your friend's house, you hang out with them, and because you hung out with them, you get a perk which is useful in the gameplay, and because you use that perk, like XYZ can happen. Like, it's just all interconnected. A very well directed and designed game. I still can't recommend it enough. I'm very excited to finally get to the 3rd semester. I'm really close, and see what the bulk of the new content is. That's where 15 to 20 hours of new content is the count they gave. That's what my friends have been saying too. But yeah, just every step of the way, this game's been fantastic. But I just haven't been playing much outside of that, because I as I said, I think 2 weeks ago or a week ago, this game's been kind of hanging because I was really taking my time with it, and so now it's like, all right, let's start pushing it before more stuff does drop in our lap, and then I really feel like I need to rush it, which this game does not deserve to be rushed. It's a very, very good game, and I've happily enjoyed it for well over a month now. But now I'm indulging in the binge side of myself. So that's kind of what I've been playing. And with that, Karak, let's move into the news. Yes?
Do this.
All right, cool. So, first bit of news on the show today is going to be, I'm trying to type the timestamps on my phone, and I just kept like hitting random buttons because I can't type sideways on an iPhone.
Dude,
Anyway,
I suck on anyway, so yeah.
yeah, my mom does the same thing. She always tries to type to me sideways, and it's ridiculous. She just sends me so many typos. So anyway, Mass Effect Trilogy reportedly getting a remaster. This news comes from PCGamer.com. Electronic Arts said yesterday that it intends to release 14 new games during the fiscal year, which runs until the end of March 2021. Titles weren't revealed, although 4 were confirmed as sports games, so a new Madden, FIFA, NHL, and a mysterious 4th, maybe a UFC game perhaps. And there will also be mobile games in the mix, some indie stuff from partner developers, which doesn't really fit the definition of indie that I'm aware of, according to this article. Some new IPs and, quote, an additional EA HD title, end quote. It was fairly conventional and unremarkable as these things go, but got more interesting when VentureBeat reported that the HD title in question will in fact be the remaster of the Mass Effect trilogy. There's no more to it than that, but it's an entirely unambiguous statement, quote, that HD remaster of an EA game is the Mass Effect trilogy, end quote. And VentureBeat's Jeff Grubb was confident enough that he tweeted specifically to draw attention to the statement. The report is unverified, but hardly far-fetched, and that's what we have to run off of. So, Karak, we talked pretty extensively last week about what we had heard about the Mass Effect situation. I know I made a video back in February, and since then I've been kind of like beating the drum that, hey, it's coming along, like it's going to happen, get ready. And we, like I said, we extensively talked about it last week. So I guess picking up where we left off there, seeing more reports coming in, it seems to now be more of a remaster. We don't know if that means they'll rework things, because I think the definition of remaster may be changing. We talked a little bit about Near Replicant remaster changing the entire combat to be more like Automata, which I think is not in line with what we've seen with previous remasters. So how do you feel so far, knowing it's going to be the trilogy rather than just maybe a redone Mass Effect 1?
We're going to talk a little bit in a bit about EA maybe changing their ideas on some things, but I would say overall, I'm not really confident that they would spend the money to fix the stuff that's in every game that needs to be fixed, to make it all feel like a cohesive whole. So I could certainly see them just being like Ubisofting it, like they did with the Ezio collection, I think was what it was.
Yes.
And I didn't hate. I didn't hate it though, because I knew, like, well, first of all, I didn't like those games as much as Assassin's Creed, or as Mass Effect. So I probably didn't buy into it as much. But I don't know the old EA, the current EA. I don't see them spending the money I think they need to fix the issues in 1, the issues in 2, and the issues in 3, and making everything combine. But I would love for them to do it. So I'm just going to try to not be negative and be like, I hope, that they fix the things people disliked in each one. We get ourselves a nice wrapped up remaking, whatever you want to call it. Remaster to me means remaster like a audio remaster, where it's not like somebody's going in and putting new beats down. They're literally remastering, they're like upping the quality, resolution and stuff. So you're right though, the Nier one, that they're calling that a remaster, and that's not a remaster. That's
adding music. That's like
quests. That's like a remake, right? Like that's that, or a definitive edition, you could call it, I guess.
Definitive edition would probably be a little better. That's the thing.
I think that would be better.
This is the issue with branding and how companies have labeled their products sometimes to sell things a little bit higher than usual. Is we get these mixed messages of like, wait, what's this versus that? EA also did say that multiple titles are set to launch on Switch this year. What was said around the internet and what I had personally heard was that don't expect Mass Effect on the Switch right away. It's going to be one of those staggered releases where you're going to get like the trilogy, I would say, on like PS4, Xbox One, and then later on it'll come to Switch. Kind of like we'll say the Outer Worlds came out PS4, Xbox, and the Switch launch got delayed. It was supposed to come out in March, but yeah. So EA has changed their way of thinking a little bit, it seems. And let's go ahead and blend this into our next news topic, which is Jedi Fallen Order now becoming a franchise. We'll talk a little bit more about Mass Effect, but I feel like these two conversations sort of overlap in the theme that EA has changed their approach to some of their series, to some of the quotes that have followed them for years. So let's get into that. This information comes from IGN. EA CEO Andrew Wilson confirmed that Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order will be the start of a new franchise, which inherently that would suggest that more games are on the way. During an earnings call, CEO Andrew Wilson said that said that Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is, quote, the first title in an entirely new franchise, end quote. This is not too surprising, according to IGN as well. During the investor call last year, Blake Jorgensen said that Jedi Fallen Order significantly beat their expectations, and the expectation was that it sold 10 million units. So it would probably be a safe guess to say that this game hit 15 million units sold by this point in time, which would also explain why right now you could hop on Steam. I think right now still you can hop on Steam and get the game for like $35, and $35 well spent. It was in my top 3 last year. I really like this game, but Respawn has also put up job listings in recent months, specifically looking to fill senior positions in on the Star Wars team. A hint that Respawn was working on more Star Wars content. And on top of that, we got a brand new free update for Jedi Fallen Order that added in an arena mode. It allowed you to wear Cal's Inquisitor armor, which that's not a spoiler, by the way. It has a new grid-based challenge mode where you could like customize your challenges. There are additional costumes. There's what they call New Journey Plus, where it seems like just your cosmetics carried over from what I read. I have yet to test it out. But yeah, so a new update came to the game, like I said, entirely free. We now know that Jedi Fallen Order is going to be a whole franchise, which makes sense. The game made a lot of money. But this kind of goes against what EA was saying for a while, which was, hey, single-player games are going downhill, trying to support the multiplayer games, the games as a service. And I think there's a place for both right now, as we all have seen with the stats. But between what we've heard for months in our case with Mass Effect Trilogy being remastered, and hey, like this game that everyone said wasn't coming back is going to come back on modern consoles, and now Jedi Fallen Order, when EA was all against single player games, now seeing just how well they can sell and has committed to a franchise. How do you feel about I don't want to say a new EA, but an EA that's embracing obvious opportunities, so to speak?
Yeah, and I think EA probably looked at the way their game was set up. I would assume the old EA thought that making an open world GTA style Star Wars was going to be too expensive, but making a Dark Souls style Star Wars was not. And so what we got was, and people can get mad, you can call it whatever you want, but there are definitely Dark Souls bits in this new Star Wars game.
100%.
And so to me, they saw somewhat non-linear, they're mostly linear levels, but somewhat non-linear gameplay and stuff, and it did well, and it's much cheaper than an open world game, which is just phenomenally expensive. So it makes sense to me, and I think it's actually smart because so the main actor, he's going to cost you money. He's awesome, by the way, and he's well worth.
Cameron Monaghan. He did a great job.
He's well worth the money. But you also have a time frame where you can get side actors that are really good, plus main actors if you want to play characters. So you're not going to spend a shit ton on your vocals. And I feel that they were attempting a bunch of shit. So I didn't like it as much as you. I liked it, but I feel that you could tell that it wasn't any one thing. It was a bunch of stuff that substantially worked better together than it could have for another team. They did a good job of getting all these weird things to work together. I personally believe they'll probably try to flesh some stuff out. Cosmetics would be great because the cosmetic system in that game sucks dong. I hate that. Like, just here's a cape, and you're like, dude, why? Like that. So I would love to see those kind of underwhelming. Yeah. So that kind of stuff, man. I think honestly, Jorgen, what's his name? The main guy, the bald guy. Is that the bald guy who always comes out and talks about this? I'm talking about the guy, the Respawn guy who always comes out. He's sort of brawny, always wears black, super bald. He's the one who did the
Stig.
Stig. Thank you.
Yeah.
My personal belief is that like once they get a smart person on the team who knows money too and knows where resources need to be spent to not go crazy, he seems to have shown that you can do it. And so I think maybe that's all EA required, was just an example of something that could be done. And we got an easy Dark Souls game, which if you think about it, I think you and I have talked about it. A lot of Dark Souls games really hard. We talk about, difficulty settings and all this shit. That game had just enough things that I think somebody who maybe was looking at a Dark Souls or a Surge 2 could be like, fuck that, I'm not doing Surge 2. But Star Wars, and maybe jump into it and learn a little bit. Yeah. And I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I'm excited to see more. I think that there was clearly more to be told in the story. Once it ended, you kind of got the feeling that it was opened up and there was more. They wanted to do more, but didn't want to commit to it. I am curious if they're gonna. Yes. I'm just curious if they're gonna keep the Metroidvania theme, the little shtick going. Right now, they've made a ton of money. Do they go bigger or do they stick with what worked? Because I think
please stick with what worked.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think one of the biggest strengths was that this game was an open world. It was also a very quickly made game. It was made on Unreal Engine 4. I think it was made in like 3 or 4 years. And so the turnaround time was fast, and knowing EA, they probably loved that. But another thing that a lot of people do forget with Jedi Fallen Order, amidst all of its hype, is that this was a game made with next to no involvement with EA. They just kind of allowed Respawn to make it, and then they helped market it. Now that EA knows there's a lot of money in on this franchise, this will be the test, in my opinion. I had pretty good confidence with Jedi Fallen Order when I look back on it. I think the only thing I was concerned about was some of the silence from them on certain elements of the game that I felt were marketable. Like we were surprised after they had shown the game off, and we were like, oh, this looks good. And then leaks came out after stating like, hey, this is a Metroidvania game to some extent. Right. And people were like, well, why didn't they show that? And they didn't show it for an extremely long period of time. In fact, I don't think they showed it at all, like officially. So I'm curious to see how EA, now that they know they have like a really, really popular franchise, a respectable Star Wars game, one of the best in a very long time. How do they handle this? Do they say, okay, Respawn, clearly you guys got something going on here. We're just going to leave you to it. And I shouldn't speak like that about respectable, because EA and DICE did a great job turning around Battlefront 2 from what I've heard. That's a game that I want to go
Star
back
Wars
to.
Battlefront 2? Oh, fuck yeah. Yeah. Sorry, of course it was Star Wars. Yes, huge good job on that.
Sure. Yeah, so I don't want to act like the only good one is Jedi Fallen Order. I think it's the only good one that, off the bat at launch, but they seem to have done a good job with this license. You have to imagine too, Karak, we have to be honest with ourselves. They're talking about making it a franchise. Do we think this means that Disney is relatively pleased with the Star Wars deal?
From what I understood, they were. Yeah, I thought somebody else had said that somewhere. But I think overall, especially because it wasn't even as dark as Mandalorian. So it's below Mandalorian in its violence and what it shows. So I think as long as EA aims for that, Disney will be fine. Disney only seems to really have an issue once you start getting dark or stuff like that. No, I think Disney's probably pretty happy with it. I would assume, because it sold. If they were expecting 10 million and it sold significantly better, even if it was only 1 million more, that's 1 million where some games don't even sell 1 million. Yeah. Like, remember Greedfall? They were like, we hit 1 million, or no, not Greedfall, the other one, Vampire. They were like, we want to hit 500,000, and they hit 1 million, and we were like, that's awesome, but it's such a small number when you then look at like a Star Wars game.
Oh, dude, it's incredible, because I remember for Vampire, they're like, at 500,000, it's a success. At 1 million, we'll do a sequel. And when I saw it hit 1 million, I'm like, all right, that's it. Yep. It's over. Go make it.
Yep.
Yeah, dude. I was extremely excited to see that they're going to be doing more with this game. I'm not over the moon on this new update. I don't see myself going back to it. I don't know. Nothing about the game has called me back. I was very satisfied with that initial adventure. And if it's like any other Star Wars game that I loved from when I was younger, It's one of those games that I'll return to over time, multiple times. That's kind of something special with Star Wars games, whether it was Republic Commando, Battlefront, and so on. I hop in and hop out. So I could see myself doing that with Fallen Order.
Did Bloodborne offer? So to me, I did do a little bit of the N plus game, or not the N plus game, but the set up your own encounters in this.
Yeah, the grid mode or whatever.
Yeah, somebody in the Discord was. My question is have other? I'm just going to say Dark Souls because, and I'm not saying it's identical to that, but have we seen like a Bloodborne or a Dark Souls do a boss rush mode? Do they later on? Because I thought somebody did. Because to give you an example, I think they did a pretty good job with a free update adding a gameplay mode that wasn't just N+, was what I was getting to. That I think that's awesome because maybe you won't return to it or I won't, but for $30, a person who maybe didn't buy it will look at that and go, wait, like,
yeah, I don't more on top of what they already have.
Yeah, and it's substantial and not the thing I just bitched about 2 weeks ago, which is the N+ mode that's just like, they're harder. And to me, I find that so lazy. Here, at least, we're getting something.
Yeah, I thought you'd come in kind of roaring about the new Journey Plus mode because it offers really nothing. It's just, hey, your cosmetics carry over, so you got to loot less.
Yeah, that's dumb.
All right.
That's dumb. That's dumb.
Yeah.
I do like the grid thing, though. I do like that. I think
it's
that
just weird
adds something.
Because once you beat the game, they let you just keep exploring and getting the rest of the collectibles. So I'm confused as to why people want. I guess when people want a new game,
combat,
they probably I was gonna say they probably wanted all the abilities and things you can do in the front of the game. But Respawn said like there's certain things they couldn't bring over. So I doubt because what'll happen if you have force pull. I don't remember what the first ability you got was.
In the wrong area, you mean?
Yeah. It could just absolutely screw up the whole design of the game.
It could.
And so I think that's why they probably didn't think that far. And it's a testament to how quickly the game was made. They had a vision. They went for it. They made a game that you could just hop in one playthrough, see it all. And that was it. But anything you want to tack on when it comes to Fallen Order or the Mass Effect trilogy? We highly encourage, not to interrupt you, by the way, before you speak, but we do highly encourage you guys listen to last week's show because we did talk more extensively about Mass Effect and how we had heard, like, Karak had heard that there was the potential for them to sort of redo the ending of 3. There was the potential to touch up and bring... Or I think this may have been a desire of yours from the Mass Effect 1
The
combat.
desire for... Yeah, it was...
Yes.
It was more the desire. No, it's all right. I was trying to figure out if it's a remaster, how they would do the ending to 3. That's just my desire. Heartfelt desire. I may have been so heartfelt you believed it was official. But it wasn't. Like, I just really want that.
Yeah. But what we had heard, to wrap that part up, is that as it has now been reported, it's coming. It's happening. It'll be the trilogy. We don't know any specific gameplay details. I will dig in for you guys and see if there's anything I can figure out. But yeah, we'll just leave it at that for now so that we don't overhype or create false expectations. We don't want to be responsible for that. But yeah, I cut you off. Was there anything you wanted to add on to either Fallen Order or Mass Effect?
No. I'm more interested actually in Mass Effect and what their idea is than I am Star Wars 2. Just because I want to see. Yeah, I want to see.
Dude, as an RPG channel, I mean, yeah, I'm way more hyped for Mass Effect to come back.
Yeah,
I love the original Mass Effect trilogy, and if they did touch up anything, I would hope it would be the ending to 3 and 1's combat. I think those are the most obvious ones. I think the most feasible would be 1's combat, personally. But
yeah, I think so too, because then you have do have to get voice actors for the end of 3. Yeah. So, but I mean, there's there's ways to work around it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just really interested in seeing what happens. I guess maybe some people also, because it's been so long, the heat for 3's ending has sort of cooled a little bit too.
Yeah, just like people have accepted it. Just said like, okay, this is what it is. Yeah, and that's very well possible. The one thing I've always said about 3's ending, I don't like it, but I didn't hate it enough to hate the rest of the Mass Effect series entirely or not enjoy playing it. I will wonder, though, if they bring back Mass Effect 3, I pray, and I might be like one of 20 people who are praying that they do bring back the multiplayer, because Mass Effect 3's multiplayer was fucking awesome. I don't
think anybody disagree. I think 3's is considered insanely good multiplayer, is it not? I would assume that if we get a remaster, they would have.
I feel like every time they bring back these older games,
they don't do
that. Like, the multiplayer is not there, right?
Yeah,
and so
true. That is true.
I hope they do find out a way to do that, because it's just horde mode, but the progression, it shines a spectacular light on how good Mass Effect 3's combat is, how fun it is, how team oriented it is. But yeah, like I said, the progression. I think, did they have loot boxes in that game? I think they did. So yeah, man, I guess that kind of could devalue my point there. But point being is that it is incredibly fun. I hope they do bring it back. Now, we move into more exciting news as I try to type on my phone sideways again. All right, so now we're going to talk about the Xbox gameplay reveal event, the moment you've all been waiting for that you totally haven't heard people talk about for the entirety of the last couple of days. Karak, it seems like we were on the same page here. General takeaways were that this was not a bad show, content-wise, but that what was marketed to us rather, was not exactly what was expected. So how do you feel about the whole show? Did you see anything you liked?
Yeah, I mean, I liked Scorn. I thought that looked pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I did like that Ubisoft. So people were congratulating, or not congratulating, but saying they appreciated Aaron Greenberg for saying, we fucked up on the messaging. But it was even better to me to see the Ubisoft guy say that he did, because people forget that Ubisoft, when they showed Valhalla a week ago, they were the ones that were saying, prepare Xbox event. And so I had not seen the Microsoft stuff. I had seen the Ubisoft stuff. So when I saw people like, oh, Microsoft, blah, 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 I was like, wait, what? I was here because of Ubisoft saying there was going to be some cool stuff. So they both fucked up really bad. But do I think I saw somebody like, it's a disaster. And I'm like, dude, I watched Sony try to tell me to get a second job to buy their PS3. There is no such thing as like an event that kills well, E3 with the Xbox One, when they were doing all that shit, that might have been an issue. But here, it's just like they screwed up. It was stupid. They did also show some games, and then later we found out some of those games are exclusive, which they didn't say, which was
really weird.
Yeah, and dude, I honestly firmly believe, I said this in my Discord and I said it in the podcast today, I firmly believe that all these companies will have continued mistakes this entire year, because no one knows what to do. Tokyo Game Show got canceled. Ubisoft has their own show. People don't realize Ubisoft is not going to want to say, watch the Xbox show 2 months prior, and then we're going to show the same shit. Like, that makes no sense. So everybody is trying to control every little bit of data. And I can bet, like, if you were going to do something on your channel, but I wanted to hint that you were going to do something on your channel, you would not say, Karak, put everything on your channel early, because nobody would watch yours. So I think we're going to see disasters this entire year from everybody.
About the competition of YouTube.
Dude, it's
first-hand experience.
It's rough. And it's like they're going to have all these issues with just how they give out data. And it's not just them. It's like all of them don't. It's going to be a really weird year for like who says what when and how they give out the data. And so, but it was bad. It was boring.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I felt more disappointed than bored, because I felt the rinse and repeat pattern of, oh man, like, this looks interesting, I wish I knew what it was, and then realizing this is supposed to be a gameplay event where I know what it was. And so there were some cool titles. Did you see Scarlet Nexus? Did that
I saw all of them. Yeah, it did. And I've played the Bright Memory Alpha one-person game, the Samurai. I played it on Steam. It's mind-blowing. One person made that, and they're making the Infinite version on console, which is great. But Yeah, see, I don't have a problem. So one of the other issues, Maddie, is I don't know if you heard, but Dirt 4 supposedly was running 120 frames per second during the demo. The problem is, guess what? Most browsers run at 60 FPS. Good job, jackass. You're literally doing nothing. If anybody noticed, you can see the Twitch stream bitrate, which I did while it was live. It was less than 1080p, which means you can't even show off your resolution. It was also at 6 megabits, which is fucking horrible.
Oh boy. Right.
So their presentations need to like have a link that's like, here's the unfiltered 4K version on YouTube of this game. And the idea that if they didn't know that, or if they knew there wasn't going to be a bunch of gameplay, do you know what I think would have not saved it? Because I don't consider them destroyed or saved events. I would have loved to have seen them just have the sound of like some swords clashing and have it say Fable 4. Just a title.
Yeah.
Just to make me go, oh, well, they didn't show gameplay on anything else, so that I'm not expecting them to show Fable 4, but there's a Fable 4, boom, and we could walk away from it saying something was new.
Yeah, they did state afterwards that in July we would see Obsidian. I mean, this is an assumption, but you know, it's been a horribly kept secret where I'm pretty sure everyone knows it's coming, that we're gonna see Fable 4. We're probably gonna see new Forza game, and they did say that Halo Infinite.
Halo. They did.
Yeah, that was. I thought of you right away. I was like, "Damn!" They said it's.
That's
still
a surprise. Yeah.
So I guess they're planning on explaining the silence of that, or because it is July, maybe they already have a delay established, right? Like maybe they're already saying like, yeah, it might be coming out in March now. I think that's very far back, but they might say it's coming back in March. It's coming out in March. And because of that, they're going to show off a ton in July. Obsidian, I thought that I had a really great question asked to me on Twitter. Someone asked me, do you think you're going to see the Outer Worlds DLC during the gameplay event, or would it be during Microsoft's first party event? Because it is, an Xbox-owned studio. And I was like, now that you mention it, I feel like we would have seen the Outer Worlds DLC during the gameplay reveal event, because it was published by Private Division. This is a multi-platform game, and I don't think it would be in Xbox's best interest to market it as something that would be exclusive to Xbox, like during an Xbox-centric show, rather. But they didn't show anything off, and now that they've confirmed that Obsidian will be present during this July showcase, and they will be showing stuff off, I imagine that's when we will see the Outer Worlds DLC, which now that they're waiting until July, Karak, I got to be honest with you, man, this has got to be an expansion. This is not what we thought it was going to be, like a couple of guns, and that was really it. This has to be, I've heard nothing on it, but this has to be like a big-ass game. I've heard about their next game, and it sounds pretty cool, but, obviously that's very far from now, so I don't want to shoot out details on that, but what I have heard sounds pretty cool. But, What are you, I guess, most looking forward to now? We know PlayStation's coming in June, reportedly. We got these monthly events. Is anything? I think Cyberpunk's June 11th. So we're gonna be busy pretty soon, man. Anything come to mind right away between those three I mentioned that excites you the most now that we've been disappointed successfully?
Probably. First of all, I just think everybody should fucking stow your excitement and thinking every game, every next gen game is going to
about that after you finish.
Yeah, that shit's the people need to like realize how games work and how new gens work. But I would say Cyberpunk, I'm more interested in something Ubisoft is going to show. And I'm also interested in if Beyond Good and Evil will be shown, because the rumor is, and the footage I got to see, Beyond Good and Evil is much farther along than I thought it was, because there's some, and this is, by the way, not me having a secret, this is on YouTube. They've been doing updates, and I found an update from 2 years ago where they were running around the city and doing shit, and it was like they were much farther along than I thought. So I would love to see Beyond Good and Evil. For Sony, I don't think I really expect much. And then who else? Oh yeah, Cyberpunk. I mean, Cyberpunk is weird. I don't really get excited about Cyberpunk because I think, like what you and I did with Spider-Man, usually it's about 3 weeks prior, and that's when I get, because it's there. Like,
yeah, Yeah, I feel
right?
you on that. Oh, no, I'm
Like,
there
it's
with you
there.
on that. I think the Cyberpunk hype is kind of wild. Like, people were freaking out even over the ratings board, and that was making headlines, and we were talking about that, like, just kind of shaking our head thinking this is a dangerous path people are walking right now when content is being created based off what's been discovered on the ESRB website or whatever. I mean, it shows people are hungry for info, which is why that June show will be great. But I also think not everyone shared our feeling, but I think people are very also quick to forget that show in August, Cyberpunk didn't look as good as it did the year prior. That was a very like cut up, heavily edited slice of gameplay, and it just didn't look as sharp. It didn't present the dynamic choice and exploration that the first demo did. And I know some people will instantly come at me and go like, whoa, did you saw 49 minutes of unedited gameplay versus a 15-minute supercut. But I just want to see the game playing. You know, that's a game that has to speak for itself. And going over the top and editing it, just I don't think that was a smart move at all. So I would say expect on June that they're going to have a substantial gameplay dump, because it's been since August that we've seen anything, since August last year. And I think CD Projekt Red got the message that, everyone was pretty happy about the game, but they wanted to see more. So I feel like we will see more, and rightfully so, because, it's just strange how they've handled that game too. They had the gameplay behind closed doors at first, then publicly revealed it. It was incredible, and everyone got to see exactly what many journalists and YouTubers like myself had been talking about. And then they followed it up with like a weird supercut gameplay, and now we have another seemingly big event. They're calling it like Night City Wire, so this might be a thing they keep returning to down the line. But I'm most excited for PlayStation. Sorry. Oh no, I was just gonna say I was most excited for PlayStation, but you were staying on topic, so let's go back to what you were saying.
I was just for Cyberpunk. I was just gonna say that I personally would love for people to understand that Cyberpunk's not Witcher, and they've said it so many times. I get that. So Witcher, I loved Witcher 3's world. I thought it was cool. I did a walking the walk, but NPC wise, there was a lot of copied NPCs and a lot of that. They were still also cool. It was a great world to explore. But Cyberpunk is a different style game, and it's going to be a lot of it's going to be ranged attacks. You'll certainly have up close attacks, but we do know Geralt was more of a sword guy, right? And so now we're going to this character that could do both. Combat's going to feel weird because of that. Additionally, you have skills that affect shooting, which hasn't worked out very well in the past, by the way. Usually you want to shoot what you Alpha Protocol, which I love. But the number of people who lost their shit the first time they shot and the bullet went that way is if you were alive during that game releasing, it was a disaster. People were so confused. I want it to be its own thing, and it's okay. It's okay if it's not like as worlds whatever as Witcher 3. If it's just a fun cyberpunk tech verticality weird city world, it'll be cool, and it looks to be even above that with the car driving and stuff. So to me, I just wish people would, I don't know what the term is, calm down a bit. There's other games to be excited about that are out right now that I wish people would look at, instead of always going, this will be out in 6 months, blah blah blah. There's actual games that have come out. There might be indie games, but there's games that have come out that I wish people would give just a little attention to. There's a lot of really cool stuff out.
Yeah, I get your point. Yeah, I do. I just think it's good people are excited. I don't want to decide what people get excited for. I just don't want them to, like I said, I think the ratings board to me was the pinnacle of like, oh dear God.
It shows
like,
the thirst is there.
Yeah, it does. Where I saw that, and I mean, people were making videos about being able to customize your genitals, and I was like, man, what the fuck? Like, I mean,
where
it's
are
funny,
we?
but to me, I thought it was cool, I guess, if you will, if that's the right word, that they're adding it, because to me it just said that the game was done. I was like, okay, if they're adding this in and they're talking about this stuff, they said that the game was playable like years ago, like front to back playable. So I believe that if their initial launch date was April, that this game is completely done content-wise, and they're just adding features that, let's say, for example, You've got a reviewer talking, and it's just that extra thing where you could be like, you can do this like choice wise, you can go X, Y, Z. You can complete these side missions. You can do these activities. Oh, and by the way, this game allows you to even customize your genitals. Like, it's just such like an outlandish thing. It's kind of got the same energy as Red Dead Redemption 2, where like they were talking about horseball shrinking. Like, I never saw that in like the 90 hours I played that game. But for a lot of people, like leading up to launch, it was like, look at all it can do plus this. Like, I feel like that's this game's version of the plus this feature.
Yeah.
I think it's just good for people to talk about. But what I wanted to just mention is in response to more so the Xbox event, this is kind of off the whole Cyberpunk thing, is for certain companies and certain things, I will be excited for their events. Like, I think Atlas is a good example because, as you said earlier, Tokyo Game Show got canceled. Atlas in turn said, we're doing something to celebrate Persona's anniversary. We're doing an update on Shin Megami Tensei 5 finally after all these years. So for me, like, that's something I'm excited for, and I will give them my excitement. Warner Brothers apparent showcase.
Yeah, Warner Brothers for sure.
Yeah,
for
like,
sure.
Definitely excited. But I think when it comes to this next gen bullshit and some of these bigger showcases, like I'm done getting excited for them for the most part. Yeah. Just because I literally, if people want to go watch the VOD, you'll see me towards like the middle end go like, I don't remember the last time I sat down for one of these and walked away like, yeah, let's go. Like, I think Nintendo had a really good direct in December. That was one time I was kind of popping out of my chair in shock. But, you know, and that was actually apparently, but people didn't really even like that direct. So, I mean, it goes to show what kind of person I am. I was for reference, hopping out of my chair for like Tokyo Mirage Sessions, getting a Switch release, and Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Outcast 2 coming back. I thought that was pretty hype because I instantly thought of like KOTOR and Battlefront and Republic Commando. But yeah, you know, in this long-winded spiel, I'm just kind of not getting excited for like PlayStation, Xbox. You know, I look forward to PlayStation because they've been so quiet, but it's not excitement anymore. You know, it's just because they have given me absolutely Bethesda last year, Ubisoft last year. They've given me no motherfucking reason to get excited at all. It's just like, all right, you know, I'm gonna come in, and if you blow me away, then that'll just make the show that many times better. But Maddie's putting down the hype sword and shield for now when it comes to the conferences. I just can't do it anymore because it's so infinitely disappointing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I think this year it's going to be even like more so, just because everybody's even the companies are confused about when games are coming out.
Understandably,
and
so.
It's been I was just going to say it's been super hard. Like, I know people are like, they're a developer, they get to work on games. We can't say their life is hard, but some of these people are like, you know, working from home, doing weird shit they've never done before, what have you, and trying to figure out how to put a game together in teams that are usually maybe too close, but they're super close. So
yeah, where you could just walk around the corner and ask a question about something with the game, and now it's like a phone call. Or
well, dude, how many times have you and I tweet? To give you an example, we've tweeted a message like back and forth 10 times, but then when we do right prior to the podcast, we finish up that discussion in a quarter of a second because you know, text isn't the same, whatever, you know, and you're like back and forth,
doing like 3 things during the texting.
Yeah, and there's something about, for some people, not everybody, but something about working together. So I think this year is it's sort of cool for me because it is slow right now. Do some indie stuff. It's also cool because I think I agree with you. I think it would be nice if people just took a step back and maybe, like, if you're celebrating the ball size of something, where are we? Where are we? Like, I get that there's excitement, but what does that mean? If we're celebrating that, what does that mean? It means we have no data, and that bothers me even more. That we have no data. We have no. So somebody celebrating ball size from a ratings board. To me, that speaks to problems, not necessarily awesome.
Yeah, because we're not talking about the story. We're not answering questions about
skills.
Characters. Yeah, builds. Yeah, which as an RPG fan, I would be more concerned about.
And want to talk more about, you know.
I'm sure that's why in Unison they had announced this big Nightwire City thing. I mean, they announced it almost actually at the point of recording this a month ahead of time. So, they very much seem to be aware that there is a lack of info. So, I tip my cap to them on that behalf.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
And I don't want people to get the mixed message from me. I'm ready to love Cyberpunk. People know I've covered the fuck out of that game on my channel, but and maybe it's to my own detriment, I'll be honest. But every time I've seen Cyberpunk news as of late, it has been like grabbing at scraps. Like, it has been really hard to see anything where I'm like, this can make a video. And I just, I look at like, I think like something that's newsworthy I'm explaining my perspective, not telling people what should and shouldn't be newsworthy. But like, I thought something that was newsworthy was when there was a tweet from someone who did communications and localization at Ubisoft saying Assassin's Creed Valhalla is smaller to address the bloat complaints from Odyssey. Like, to me, that's news, because that means, okay, they are changing how they've designed the game. Assassin's Creed Odyssey had a level gate. It had a ton of side content, arguably for some too much. And you didn't get a lot of XP rewards from that, so you started to feel like you were grinding for 4 or 5 hours to get to the next story beat that you were excited for, and by then your excitement has died off. And to me, like, that bit is news because you can go into what the game is, and it tells you their focus with the game and how they've addressed feedback, where when I can just make assumptions based off a ratings board, which, by the way, you guys are talking to me, like, I love speculating. It just, I can't do that. I can't find, with Cyberpunk, it's a lot of that, I should say. It's a lot of like, little things, little snippets from interviews. And I am going to go hard with that game if I'm still impressed with what I see in June. You guys know that whenever there was an explosion of Cyberpunk content, there was an explosion from Matty content, and I'm sure many others. That's also half the battle, man. That game is going to be saturated. As a creator, as Karak and I know, when you're just a drop in the bucket talking about a game, it is infinitely harder to stand out. And I mean, I say that as a guy who I think I'm generally known to talk about RPGs more than anything, that I will even fall into that group in with it's just being a drop in the bucket. I think the last time I talked about Cyberpunk was about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago now. Like, it's been a while, and the video did well, but there just, to me, hasn't been super significant news. But
I got to ask you something.
Go for it.
Here's what I believe. We can take this to the bank. Here we go. I do not believe feedback was given about Assassin's Creed Odyssey enough to make them change the design. I believe that they looked at the DLC sales, saw that they were awesome, looked at how big Odyssey was, saw that it did insanely well, and decided they are going to say it is smaller, more contained, and they are going to sell you the additional larger world when it is done through DLC.
Interesting take.
Because, dude, their sales, by the way, for their DLC is incredible. And they have done phenomenal. I'm not dissing on them. They have done phenomenal with their DLC. Ask Crazy Herb, because he's in yours and mine. Ask anybody who's played it. Almost everybody says the DLC for Odyssey has to be within top 3. There's a
The Fate of Atlantis it's called?
Fate of Atlantis. Dude, like I'm not saying people are saying it's as good as like whatever that one is for Witcher, but they talk about it in the same discussion. Yeah, when somebody talks about it in the same discussion, that means they thought of it, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, but my personal belief is that not enough people who would have bitched about that because it rated well and the average playtime is beyond belief. I believe that they will sell it in a way that will simply be pretty much the same, if not bigger, via the DLC, and they will be able to sell you the DLC in a more a more grab Karak, let's say, because I didn't get to return to it. Why would Karak want to return, or why would Matty want to return to Valhalla if they didn't return to Odyssey? And I bet you they can figure that out. I bet you they can go, I know how to grab Matty, we're going to do this, or how to grab Karak, we're going to do this. That's my firm belief. That's just me.
I wouldn't say that's a wrong claim to make. I would actually be not surprised at all if they took that route. We will see, though.
I'm excited for it regardless because, dude, I liked Odyssey, so people can screw off.
Dude.
That game was awesome.
That shit was good. Yeah,
yeah,
I liked it a lot. All right, next bit of news is the Aftermath Mortal Kombat 11 expansion. Karak, would you like to take it away?
Yeah, so I just went with the completely generic PlayStation blog. So it says Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath brings new story, RoboCop, by the way, and friendships. Friendshipalities, I would assume, is what you call it. So it says, greetings, fellow fighters. Since the introduction of the story mode to Mortal Kombat, fans have made one thing clear. They're always eager for more. They're passionate about every character and want each to have their turn in the spotlight. That's why we at NetherRealm are so excited about Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath. It will fulfill one of our fans' biggest requests, a continuation of the Mortal Kombat 11 story that features a great roster of characters. The new chapters and time-twisting narrative of Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath allowed us to give Nightwolf, Fusion, I think, if that's pronounced right, and Shiva their most sizable roles in any Mortal Kombat game to date. We get to learn more about what drives those characters, from Fusion's devotion to Earthrealm's mortals to Shiva's undying loyalty to her Empress. The story also allows us to see these incredible fighters in action. Our cinematics team has dreamed up a whole host of pulse-pounding action sequences, which will utilize each character's signature abilities. And it just goes on from there. More characters, more locations. Shang Tsung will be in there. One other benefit of one benefit of a new story, our environment team got to build a bevy of new stages. Now he says bevy, which anybody who understands that means it basically means more than 3. So I don't know what that means. They do then later say, and then there's our 4th new stage, which I think fits. So 3, it's called the Retrocade. The Retrocade is a love letter to the fans who've been with us since the earliest days of Mortal Kombat. It gleefully mashes old school game stages with the more modern presentation. So I personally think this is awesome. It's going to have new stage fatalities and all that, and friendshipalities, and RoboCop with Peter Weller, the original RoboCop, doing the voice. Yes. And cool. To a B movie fan, to me, that's fucking awesome. I will say this. I don't know if you know this, Matty. You probably do, but this was actually leaked by a 4chan leaker. Mm-hmm. And that 4chan leaker also, in the exact same post, leaked all the Batman data, all the Hitman 3 data, and all the Injustice 2 data. So now people are trying to see if those are going to match up, because he leaked this early, and it was actually right. Everything he said, other than Ash from Evil Dead, he did state Ash from Evil Dead would come up, but then prior to this announcement stated that is delayed because of a contractual issue with Bruce Campbell, who's the actor for Ash, or in some way that IP. I don't know if that's all true, and somebody who's watching this can track it. It's just what when this was announced at the time, it was bouncing back and forth. But if that's true, Injustice 3 is data is there, Hitman 3's data is there, and so is the new Batman, even though the Arkham won't be used in the name. Hopefully all that's true, because he did seem to get this. Yeah. So
how much is the expansion? Do we have a price?
Oh, yeah. So it's $40, which I told you prior to the podcast. So here's the thing. What I was told was it's much more expensive right now to get all the stuff. But if you wait for Aftermath and buy the main game and Aftermath, it's like a full $70 less. So people are mad about the pricing for current buyers. You know how it is, like if you and I buy Assassin's Creed Odyssey and then the DLC piecemeal, it's more expensive than, let's say, the definitive edition in a year. That situation is going on with this. And I do know I saw multiple people posting not happy, and somebody can post this in the YouTube when they can break down the price, but they were not happy about the price. Because it was expensive, even though they were questioning how much story would be in there. It was more along the lines of how it's packaged now, but who bought it feel a little ripped off, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think the amount of story is definitely a valid concern. I think the other thing is, if people have been keeping up with Mortal Kombat 11, I mean, how much DLC has come out for that game already, and how expensive was that? And then they want you to spend another $40. But
3 or 4 character packs, right? 3 or 4 character packs.
Yeah, there's been a decent amount of characters that come out, and I say this as someone who really liked MK11. Like, I know one of its biggest complaints was the crypt, I believe, and people Just did not like that, but I really had a good time with MK11. It was actually the only NetherRealm fighter I kept coming back to, kept playing, enjoyed online play. I felt it was one of their more balanced fighters. I'll go to that length too. It was just much, much better than most games that they have made from my perspective, at least gameplay wise. And
I just didn't like that fucking dude, the fucking in the crypt, the casino machine or whatever. Like, and they're like, there's no loot boxes, and you're like, but there's a jukebox or slot machine. There's a slot machine in there. That was the only thing that bothered me.
No, absolutely, and that's totally valid. I don't think anyone who didn't like that is wrong. It's just that I've went on for years on this show and in my reviews saying that I loved the first Injustice, but I dropped it pretty quick after like a month or two. I loved Injustice 2, dropped it pretty quick. I loved MK9. I didn't really like 10 that much, but I played a lot of 9, but dropped 10. NetherRealm had a very bad streak with me. I liked their games, but I played them like a casual. I beat the story. I hopped into the arcade a little bit. I
messed around and then
and that was it. That was really it. And that stinks. So I'm excited, probably more than most, that I saw more is coming to MK11. I did like their story. I thought it was, kind of what that as people like to say, Michael Bay explosive action fun kind of story where you can just sit back and just let it come at you. So yeah, I'm excited for more. $40 worth, we'll see. It depends how many like friendships there are, because I think that was a highly requested edition. 3 new characters coming with this. I think that's pretty. Well, actually, there would have to be math done for that, right? Because there's definitely character packs with groups of 3. How much is that? And then you kind of
4 stages. How much is that? And then story. How much is that?
Yeah. I would not be surprised if the story was like 2 hours. I'm just keeping people's expectations in check, because I look at Dragon Ball Z Kakarot's first piece of DLC. People were all hyped, like, oh yeah, Battle of the Gods, we're going to get the story with Whis and Beerus, and it was 45 minutes long. So be cautious, people. It's great that they're addressing it, but the base game of Mortal Kombat 11 story was 6 hours. So you're not getting more than that, and if you're paying $40, you're probably getting, I'll say 3 hours tops. Getting 3 hours tops. So I say that as someone who's excited, but that's just my perspective. Karak, anything you want to add on?
No, I agree. I do believe what I would like to see from these companies, mostly WB, mostly NetherRealms. I'd like to see them get away from the cutscenes, the big CGI, and go to strictly in-game, and then make the stories longer via voice acting and extending the stories. Because I felt Injustice's story was, I remember Injustice 2 story being longer than Mortal Kombat 11 by at least an hour or two. I could be wrong.
It was, I think, about 2 hours longer.
Okay, so you've got that, and there was some switching to characters. You could choose different characters, all that. I really do believe that those guys have missed out on understanding that people happen to like they say that people like their story, but they don't really respect that people like their story. If they did, it wouldn't be 6 fucking hours. Like, it would be continued narrative. And both games also had that thing where if you beat it in one mode, you get a mini ending. Like in Injustice, you get like I think it's like a picture and some scroll on the certain, not the arcade mode, but there was a different mode that you could win. I would like to see them add more like tangible story to this DLC than just 2 hours. To me, that's pretty cheap, but not cheap. Just it's exactly what we expect, which is terrible. I want to be surprised, right?
Yeah. I hope the rumors of an Injustice 3 are true, though. I wonder when they're going to get. I wonder when they're going to get a little bored of this altering back and forth between franchises, because it's just kind of become a predictable pattern. I thought for sure after Mortal Kombat 11 that seemed to be like, all right, this is like our big one. It felt that way to me. I thought they would switch it up after this, but I feel like Injustice is just too valuable of an IP for them to leave, and it's got to be fun going from like the most brutal fighter on the market to DC
superheroes. Yeah.
It's
mixing in there, they still get away with mixing in some of their Mortal Kombat characters anyway. So They still throw some in. I will say, I feel that Injustice's character packs were 10 times better than I just don't like Mortal Kombat 11's. RoboCop is the first one to get me excited. They did Carl Weathers and the Predator, and it was fucking terrible. It was like, and I'm a Predator fan, and I was just like, it just wasn't. No, that was that was a skin for them. They did, was it Jason, or was that the other one? Oh, see, that's the problem. Who'd they do for Mortal Kombat 11? I'm going to look it up.
While you were talking, I was getting ready to like correct you, and then I lost it right when you started talking.
11 DLC characters. Yeah, let me read these out because I have not been happy at all. Okay, so am I right? This says Spawn?
Yes, that's who I was thinking of. That's
Joker, which just didn't fit. They did. It does look like they. Really? In Mortal Kombat 11?
I just like that finally we got to see in game like an M-rated Joker. Like he could blow people up, make them bleed, have like a messed up fatality. I was happy to finally see that side of it. We saw it in cinema. We saw it with the Joker movie, but I was really thrilled to see in a game a Joker that, could do something really fucked up and you could see the effects of it, right? It's always like off-screen shit. So that's why I liked it. I know actor-wise there was a problem.
Shang Tsung, these are the ones in it. Shang Tsung, Nightwolf, Terminator, Sindel, Joker, Spawn.
Terminator.
And Terminator, like, I'm a Terminator fan. I can't tell you how little I give a shit about Terminator being in Mortal Kombat 11. And I don't know why. I'm not
That's
saying
strange. Wow.
I'm not saying it's bad. I just don't know why. But the idea of... Maybe it's because we see Terminator in everything, maybe. Like, there's Terminator skins and Gears. Yeah, dude, Gears has a shit ton of... You've got, like, Sarah Connor. You've got multiple Terminators in that one. I think you have even the Liquid one, I think. So, yeah. I'm excited for it. I think Aftermath could be a fun DLC. I just hope that they respect it and give it some oomph. That would be nice.
To me, that DLC character list, that didn't sound bad. That's kind of intriguing.
Really?
And if
I like Shang Tsung, admittedly. Yeah. I do like it.
And I'm not even like a fan of those like big
characters
of those movies like Spawn, Terminator. Like, I watched Terminator when I was younger, but like it's the get to the chopper, that's the only thing that really stuck with me, right? Like
no, that was Predator, bro. That wasn't even the right
what?
Predator
way.
Yeah, when he says get to the chopper, his friend just got killed, and he yells at the Spanish actress named Malia something, but he's like, get to the chopper. Yeah, wrong movie. See, that's the thing right there. There you go. now, people on YouTube are like banning or unsubscribing from.
No, I'm just banging away on the keyboard. No, you're not wrong. Yeah, well, then that goes to show that I had no idea as a kid when I was watching.
Terminator. I'll be back is Terminator.
That's
yeah.
There we go. Yeah. Okay. Two
and he
lines,
says that, by the way,
crisscrossed. Yeah.
In the game, he's like, "I'll be back." Okay. Whatever.
That I don't know. Been it. Fuck if I know, man. Fuck if I know. I know we have a patron and a friend of mine, Adam, who does like a movie
Adam
section
AC.
on his podcast. Like the grocer or whatever.
Yeah.
He's probably rolling in his chair right now, like, oh,
like,
Jesus, like, no.
It's like, how dare you? He's gonna send you a template that says like what movie the one, like I was here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum, and he'll write that down. He'll just go down.
Yeah, all famous movie quotes designed in a template.
Now that's one I would pay. I would pay literally $20 for a Rowdy Piper They Live skin. I would pay $20 right now if they did that. He's passed away, and I think that's why they don't. But
right. Okay. Well,
what do you
to prevent further embarrassment? Let's not talk about Terminator. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, what do you want for stages? But I don't know Mortal Kombat 11 enough. I don't remember the stages enough to really speak about it, so I don't really know myself.
I guess I could talk gameplay wise about what I'd want, because sometimes I feel, I feel like and this is gonna sound really off topic, but I'll get back to it in a sec. When Bethesda bought Fallout and they started making Fallout and Elder Scrolls, people used to say like Fallout was Elder Scrolls with guns, but I'm very surprised that people don't have those complaints for when it comes to what happens with Mortal Kombat and Injustice, because stage interaction, I feel that was really cool to add in. I believe it was Injustice 1 was where they first started allowing you to like grab stuff in the backdrop. I want them to coat the stage with that and make it a little more
like dynamic
smooth.
Almost.
Yes, because
smooth. I see what you're saying.
Well, I would love it if combos could chain into these environmental interactions. I would love if they evolved what the stages could do and were not just a backdrop. I think that was one of the best parts of what NetherRealm does with their fighters. Is it's not just like art back there. It's like things are happening, and depending on what round you're in the fight, the background will change and can change what you can do during the fight. But like little things. I remember in Injustice 1, you jump up and there's an interactable that can swing you to one side of the stage. I would love if you could jump cancel that swing and land a little bit shorter from where the game wants you to. Little things like that to kind of control the fight, make it a little more dynamic. And I know this is me as someone who's not like a pro fighter making these kinds of requests, because for some people, they'll say like there's balance in making specific things happen, not having too many interactables. I get that. But for me, I would love to see them evolve gameplay-wise what a stage could do. I think, and they definitely try, right? Like the stage fatalities. That's a big part of it. The stage interactions. I would love to see more of that. Certain things can happen if like different weather patterns occur. Like if it's raining on one stage, do those people that you could grab from the backdrop and throw at the player, they're not there because it's raining now. Like something like that. Right. I would like to see them start changing how stages feel, even if it's in exchange for less stages. But yeah, when it comes to the lore of Mass Effect, I almost said Mortal Kombat, I couldn't tell you like what I hope to see. Just gameplay wise, what I hope changes. How about you?
I mean, I would like. I'm completely. Nobody's going to be happy with this, but I don't really like in Street Fighter or in Injustice or in NetherRealm's games of any kind, as well as most fighters, when you jump down and you kick. If there's something like, let's say, in the level that maybe you could push to the right, if you jump down and kick, it'll still slide to the right. Like, and it looks like physics aren't right, you know? Like you'll hit down and whatever you hit goes anyway, instead of hitting it perfectly sideways. There's a lot of stuff that happens in Injustice that I feel animation-wise shows that they're behind everybody by like a decade. And I don't mind their animations, but they are old and creaky. The forward flip is so canned, and everybody looks the same in all of those moves. Everybody looks the same, which is really weird because you don't necessarily have to make them look the same. They just need to land in the same if you're trying to balance it. I would love to just see them. That's why I lit in when you said smooth, because it dawned on me, Injustice, while I liked it, when you grab like the alligator in the swamp level, it just looks janky because you like grab him and there's like a pause and then you're like, yeah, and it just nothing.
The frame data is a little too obvious
there. Yeah. So that kind of stuff. So I agree. I would like smoothness there on interacting with the stages. And I think the smart thing of like weather and suddenly characters not being there, I personally think I've wanted that for years. And I'm sure there's something there where they're like, well, we don't want to do that for like professional whatever, but there's already professional modes anyway. So it's like, great, whatever, allow me to do it when I'm playing it. And then if I do the professional mode and you don't want to give me some kind of strange bonus as a normal player I'm not aware of, then don't allow people there in the professional mode at all or something like that. But I love the idea of a variable background. I think that'd be fun. Even if it was one, dude, if they were just like, we're calling it living background, Mortal Kombat, they love to name their shit. That'd be awesome, right? If they were like this is our first living background. And you were like, whoa, what's that mean? And they're like, there's 15 variables and each fight, 4 variables are chosen and boom. And so it can change. Yeah. Because that's what we got in Infinite Universes. Sorry. But it lit on fire and stuff, and you had all this crazy stuff, and I love that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would like if you're, for example, let's say you're on a stage and there's a door with like a big brick wall around it, and like it's interactable, and you throw the character into that wall once. I would love if you broke down that door and all of a sudden the camera kind of rotates real quickly and there's a whole new stage connected. And I'm not talking about what Injustice 1 and 2 did, where if you hold back and press A or X and you knock
fly
them across the stage. Yeah, you fly. There's a cutscene. For me, cool at first, breaks up the flow big time later in the game when you're playing for your like even your 10th hour. I would love a quicker transition. It doesn't have to be at the end of the stage. Doesn't have to be so drastically set up. Doesn't have to eviscerate your health bar. Just knock them through the doorway, and all of a sudden the fight just pivots. It just it suddenly it's a separate stage. That type of stuff would be cool. Instead of and Tekken 7, which is one of my favorite fighting games, where you can go down floors in some of the stages. When you slam someone on the ground, have it so it's like they hit the ground and right through. Like you both go right through. You land, up you go. There's not this cutscene that has to play. For me, half the issue with the fighting games is they do these stage transitions, but they either get too cute with them or they feel too janky or they break the flow of the fight. If fights started to feel more dynamic, I mean, obviously within the player's knowledge, you'd start to learn the spots and it would become a fighting game. But little things like that, I think, would really, really help improve them because always people talk about pro modes, but I'm like, my goal would be to make things that you couldn't imagine a fighting game without. Like, wow, that felt like a real battle. I grabbed that guy by the head, flipped him over my hip. We broke right through the floor, immediately cleaned ourselves off. Like there was no, drastic fall of us hitting 80 pipes on the way down. We just boom right through, fight picked back up, new stage. Like part of your game plan could be getting someone to that lower level or through that doorway. That's what, I'm not a director or a game designer by any stretch, but I would want to create the thing that you couldn't imagine competitive play without. That would bring like a new element to the whole genre. That's what I would aim for, at least.
Yeah, me too.
All right, let's talk about The Last of Us Part 2, my friend. It has recently gone gold, as confirmed by a YouTube video from Neil Druckmann. It was not met with positive comments, but we did feel this was a good time to just revisit The Last of Us Part 2. Not recap the whole situation. We know that's also an incredibly hot topic on YouTube. I'm sure everyone's pretty familiar with the leaks and everything. So we're just going to talk about the game's gold. It's done. Nothing's changing. So where do we stand on excitement levels, if you will? Where do we stand on anticipation? Do we plan on playing it? All of that. I pass it off to you, my friend. How do you feel?
Yeah, I'll play it. I'm about it. My excitement didn't change, for the story spoilers or anything like that. I'm not like I have to play it, see how everything lines up. So to me, it'll just be like I'll play it, and that's when I'll decide. But I think it's a big favorite of yours. I was definitely not as hot about the original. So to me, if you look at Uncharted, let's say, I'm trying to think, not God of War. I guess there's only two, Uncharted and this one. I'd be more, excited if it was an Uncharted 5 or something. So
really, okay,
yeah. To me, it is what it is. I don't really care about all the other stuff people are freaking out about. Like, I want to see it and play it and be able to say what I think of the game when it's in my hands versus what I think of some stuff that I haven't experienced myself, I guess. So I'm more interested. I want to touch it and play it to decide what I think of it. But I'm not really super excited about it. I would say 6 on a scale of 1 to 10. Excitement wise.
Yeah. It's funny. They released a story trailer and
I forgot. Yeah. I haven't seen it.
Yeah. I'm not one of those people who, how do I word this? I want to play the game and see what it does. But if I didn't know any better and I just saw that trailer alone, I would have been pretty dang excited about The Last of Us Part 2. That was cool. Because to me it captured maybe not the element that The Last of Us 1 caught, which was there was this journey, there was a goal, something was going on here. This seems like more of a human story, and there was a reason why I stopped watching The Walking Dead, even though I heard recently it got better. But to me, it just reminded me of that. I don't care as much for the human post-apocalyptic stories at all. But gameplay-wise, it looks intense. It looks like exactly what you'd expect from The Last of Us. I know story-wise, people are very down on the game, and they're allowed to have their opinion. But I think we can talk fairly about the gameplay and say, like, it does look fun to play. It does look very intense, which is one of the things I liked most about The Last of Us 1. So I'm curious to see how that all plays out. But yeah, I'm patiently waiting now. Not with large anticipation. I think everyone's got to have their guard up with this game because of the fan reception was very loud, very vocal. It was definitely not a minority, but I sit on the camp that, you know what, I want to just, as you said, see how moments play out. See what they do around the big punchlines. And then I'll decide. But for now, we'll see. I plan on playing it. Don't think I'll be getting a review copy, but hey, we'll see.
I probably won't either. I mean, it's Sony, which is just all over the place with that kind of stuff. And I think Sony looks at certain people for certain games.
Right.
So I think they might go to. I could certainly see Sony possibly going more towards a particular group for this kind of review or whatever, but I could also see them just being like, screw it, whatever. The thing I will say though is that there's such a contentious thing between the creators now and fans. Like, instead of the creators even saying, okay, we get you, blah blah blah, they did that once or twice, and then I can't remember what's his name, Druckmann, I think, said something where like, screw you, we don't want you to play our game if you dislike this or that. And it's like, some of the people I saw were certainly the group that he had described, but then others I saw weren't that group. And I was like, that was sort of a dumb thing to say.
Well,
it's like, sometimes don't you wish they would just say nothing? I just wish sometimes they would say nothing.
It reminds me of, and I don't know exactly what Neil said, so I don't know if it's comparable, but it reminds me of what kind of happened with, I want to say it was Battlefield 1, wasn't it? Or EA said something during one of their Battlefield's marketing campaigns of like, we don't want you to play the game. If I forgot what it was.
Oh, it's probably the lady who had the missing arm, and people were like confused on, she was like an android, but then people were saying, well, women were in the war, and
EA said something that
they probably said something. If you're a sexist, you shouldn't play our game. I mean, I don't know if that's what they said, but I could certainly see
I don't know if they're comparable,
the hot topic.
But yeah, I don't know if they're comparable. It just, if it impacts the sales, it reminds me. EA said something that I could have sworn hurt numbers, but I could be incorrect. We shall see. Anything you want to add on to The Last of Us Part 2? Not much to say.
No, it's fun. It's fun to be bored of it, or not bored, but not be as emotionally connected as everybody else to it. It's sort of fun because I can step away and go, wow. Like, on all sides, just be like, damn, son. It's almost like if you have a friend who likes sports and you don't like the sport. Like, you like hockey, so you'd be that friend, maybe. But, like, you have that friend who likes NBA or whatever, and you can't grasp. And you're just watching. You're watching it. You don't hate it, but you're like, damn, these guys are fucking crazy,
Yeah. That's a great comparison. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the patron questions. Let's see. As always, I don't check and see what you guys submit, so we're going to figure out if we even have questions this week. If we don't, this will be a sad, short conclusion, but allow me to pull open the app, and we will, as I stall, find
it. Mick has to have. I don't think Mick is going to let us down.
All right, so since May 3rd, we have 17 new messages.
There we go.
It appears that we have a busy week ahead of us. All right, we're going to begin with Holzer19. What is your favorite traditional and non-traditional sports game? Mine is NHL 11 and Rocket League.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so for me, favorite traditional sports game is going to be NHL or FIFA 13. I played that with my friends in high school. I have incredibly fond memories of us grinding pro clubs literally every day and like talking about during school, coming up with like plans on the pitch and bringing them back to the game. It was awesome. So definitely that's my favorite. I don't think we'll ever be able to replicate that. When it comes to non-traditional, MLB Slugfest 2004. I just loved fucking beating the shit out of people on the baseline, turning on fire because someone beamed me too many times. Like when the game didn't know a real life major league player, instead of using voice lines to say like, now here comes the bat, like Alfonso Soriano. Like if they felt the person was a no name, the announcer would say, now up to bat somebody. And I was like, that's fucking incredible. They're like, yeah, you're a no name, and we're just gonna embrace that. But yeah, those are my 2 picks.
Mine would be, for non-traditional, would be Blood Bowl for sure, because I love football with like orcs and fucking elves and dwarves. I think that's awesome. And the last one that came out was pretty good. And then official, I mean, I guess we could call Fight Night 3 and 2 official. Those are the old boxing games for like the Xbox 360. So, because there hasn't been one in a long time, but I would say definitely the Fight Night, probably Fight Night 3. Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Cover Paint writes in saying, favorite memory of video gaming with a family member. For me, it's playing the Assassin's Creed series up to Brotherhood with my Alzheimer's sick grandmother by my side. She didn't follow the story or anything, but she was really happy seeing the character jump and climb. She was also so shocked when I had jumped from a tower to a haystack. She used to say, I don't understand why he jumps from so high up. Isn't he afraid of dying? Sorry for the long post-test question. Nothing to be apologetic about. That's actually awesome that you shared that with us.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Do you have a favorite memory of gaming with a family member?
Yeah, my brother had just come out of the military, and I was asleep on the couch, and he bought me Strider for the Genesis, which was nut crunchingly hard at the time. But he bought it for me, and it was like 3 a.m. when I was asleep, and he woke me up because he had just got back from being in the military, and we played that for like the next week or so together.
Nice. I have a lot of great ones. Favorite gaming memory with a family member. I'm gonna say, oh man, I think there was a 2-hour delay because there was ice on the road. That means that for those who don't know, my school, instead of like canceling school, they pushed back the start of the classes 2 hours. So we had a 2-hour delay. I was in 2nd grade. We just got Halo Combat Evolved about a couple weeks. Actually, no, 2nd grade. Many weeks ago. And normally, I think I said this even on stream yesterday. I did. We were playing Battlefront, just discussing the Xbox gameplay reveal event. I was saying how it was like 11 a.m. And I was like, I never game at this time of the day, even like to this point. I just never do. I never did. But I remember with the 2-hour delay, we were ready for school, and then they pushed it back. And my mom was like, oh, did you do all your homework? I was like, yeah, of course. And she let me and my brother go downstairs with our neighbors, and we all just played Halo for like a couple hours before school. And it was really cool. I don't know if that's actually my favorite, but that's definitely one of my favorites. I have little ones like my cousin got Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal, and he played it on my PS2 on Christmas, and we kind of grinded that out together. That was extremely fun. But yeah, man, there's so many to pick from, but those are 2 that come to mind. All right. We've got a few questions from Vault 101 Guy. Number 1, do you think that PlayStation is behind the curve on Xbox Series X, or do you think they are relying on their brand recognition to sell the console? Also, we're going to tie this in because it's a PlayStation-centric question. Maybe a stupid question, but do you think Spider-Man 2 will be exclusively on PS5? The answer to that is yes.
Yes.
100%. So we'll go back to your first question. Do you think PS5 is behind the curve, or do you think they are relying on brand recognition, or neither? Is there more to this, Karak?
I think he means, I'm sure he does. I don't think he means tech. I think he means behind the curve of like, just, PR, right?
Yeah,
the second part of that question
showing stuff off.
I would say this event didn't help Microsoft, but I would say that so far, probably because I see a lot of people who like Sony still, because of Game Pass, definitely. I hear a lot of like people going like, man, I don't know. And I think I would say yes, just because also Sony is trying to change the discussion that they have always pushed, which is power of the system. Now they're trying to say that doesn't matter and the hard drive matters. And I think that a lot of people, including myself, find that a little weird. And maybe comes off as like, it's almost like when Microsoft would say, you know, they'd make something up and be like, it's actually about home entertainment, which we all knew was was bullshit. So I would say, yeah, but dude, man, Sony is, how do you beat Sony in like Japan, right? Like how? It's impossible. It's legitimately impossible unless Nintendo had a system as powerful as whatever and was releasing right now. They can rest. I think they're doing both. My answer would be both. Technically, that's the only way I could answer that question.
Yeah, I think they're quiet because there was a lot of confusion. But I am anticipating what they show off. I think that game-wise, I care about PlayStation more than Xbox right now. Just because they currently do hold the cards for a lot of exciting series over the last generation. And I do want to see a lot of those continued, and I expect they will continue. And that's not to say when it comes to Obsidian or Fable 4, I'm not excited, or Halo, but those are 3 versus like 6 that Sony has access to right now. So very excited to see what they have up their sleeve. Last question from Vault 101. Guy says, with VR technology on the up and up, do you think later down the road we'll see a major implementation of AR tech?
Yeah, I don't think VR and AR are gonna stay separate. I think at some point you'll see them merge because somebody will come up with a screen that they use electricity and they block it completely black for VR, and then they turn it to like my sunglasses for AR. So yeah. I mean, the problem with AR though is like, go out and you've got whatever on your face, Google glasses or whatever. It's like VR, you're putting on a headset to play games. AR is just a pair of glasses. I'm not really interested. I don't know enough about AR to really answer that, I guess.
Yeah.
It's sort of out and weird.
I think with any type of virtual reality, augmented reality, I don't know if it'll ever become like a major implementation of anything, because there are still people who know and understand the technology, but it does not have to be everywhere. Like a lot of people go, is the next big step in gaming putting VR and everything? And I'm like, well, people still get motion sick. People still don't want the experience that way. And that's just, it's preference. It's not technology. Maybe you'll see more. I think it'll just be another a complement.
It's
to
a
the
platform. It's a platform
exactly.
in and of itself. Yeah.
Exactly. Sure. Yeah. So I think that whole reality space is just going to stay separate, not because people aren't embracing it. More people, I think, are embracing it now than ever because we're getting legit VR games. I just think it's a matter.
It's motorcycle and a car to me. They both are a means of transport,
well
but they're different platforms, man.
Perfect.
And you've got one and I've got one, and we both wouldn't like. I wouldn't want the next God of War on VR, by the way, at all.
No.
Like, there's some things I just know I do not want that at all.
Yeah, they did say that Vader Immortal's coming to PSVR, so that's a pretty sweet get for owners of that platform. Just in case you guys are out there, definitely look into that. Great games. Holzer writes in again, and he's got some reactions from some of the people on our Discord. He says, with the latest update, Modern Warfare is up to 200 gigabytes. I'm sorry, but what the fuck? What could possibly be the reason for a game like this having such a gargantuan size? To which Dow says, what the hell? And NFL Dude said, it's crazy. 200 gigs, Karak. Thoughts, feelings? You don't look like you give a fuck.
I could care less. I think it's really weird for us to be like, we want better textures, better sound, blah, blah, blah. And then people be like, man, it's too big. They've already clarified it multiple times. There's not much more to say. I'm sure some of it's on optimization, but so when you load a level, you have to put the assets down, and they want a level to load in a specific time. So maybe they have dual assets somewhere so that the hard drive spindle doesn't have to move from the end to the beginning. It can get a tree from 4 different places. So could be that. But I would say, I mean, I understand what people are worried about, because somebody brought that up. They're like, well, if let's say you cut that in half even to 175, that's only a couple games on the new PS5's hard drive. Yes, you are right. That is exactly what it means. That is exactly what it means. We're screwed. We are screwed. I mean, games are huge, dude. And good audio for those guns, for instance, that takes space. It's dumb, but it's just the way they built their engine. There's a reason why all games aren't that big. You said it yourself. There was a game that we were surprised was small. Oh no, maybe it was. I'm sorry, it wasn't you. Somebody in my Discord had said that a certain game looked sizable, but it was pretty small. I can't remember what it was, but that's just the way it is. Each game is built a certain way to load a certain speed.
I always talk about Skyrim. That's always my go-to example. When it came out on the 360, I installed it, and it was like, I think like 9 gigabytes tops after all the DLC and stuff. Like, it was just incredibly small for what is still a very definitive game to this date.
It sucks, right. But
Next
we're screwed.
Question. Oh, sorry, I cut you off.
I'm just saying it sucks, but we're screwed. I don't know anything to say. Like, that's the way it be prepared, because you have no clue. I know of one game that's coming out that may be 325 gigs. That is, its current size right now in beta testing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude, these games are going to get very big.
They're massive, man.
It's
crazy.
It's scary.
It's crazy.
Knucklehead writes in, says, 2 questions for Karak this time. So this is all you, my friend. Number 1, have you considered getting GB back on the International Podcast after Red Dead 2 launched? I noticed he wasn't there anymore and thought he was just taking a break because of how heavily Rockstar-centric his channel seems to be. Granted, I don't watch any videos on his personal channel and only go to ACG for the numerous podcasts, so apologies if this has been discussed somewhere at some point. Number 2, Karak, what's under the beanie? The world may never know. All jokes aside, hope you guys are doing good amidst all the craziness. Keep up the great content. Thank you, Knucklehead. Karak, do you have any answers for either of these?
Sure. 2, hair. And number 1, we've talked about it 100 times. GB can definitely come back on. And we'd probably make room for him to be like fully on. But he did something that exactly what Matty did. He looked at his channel and was like, I need to make a change. And his change was that he was coming on the podcast, and we have talked about this, but I have no problem. He was coming on the podcast and he didn't have a lot to say. And because he's Rockstar, like, he is Rockstar. Like, it was like when you were Bethesda, and of course you were always a little bit else, but he isn't. He's like, that's Rockstar. Him. So when, for example, when you and I were talking about Mafia, he was interested in those kind of games. Like, he thought maybe that would work for him, and he tried a couple games and they just didn't work. And he felt, I wouldn't say the word uncomfortable, but he felt like every time I would say, what do you think about this indie or whatever, he didn't know. He was like
that, or he'd like bring it back to Rockstar.
Yeah. Right. So it's but yeah, he can come back anytime. He's awesome. Like, I still belong in his Discord, and I think he's still in mine. It's just one of those things where you and I talked about this prior to the podcast, where like your interests connect to who you talk to. And if those interests adjust, you have to look and go, like, what do I do? How do I make it make sense for my channel and stuff? Mm-hmm. And it didn't for him, which was too bad, because I liked him even when he didn't have anything to say. I didn't care. I thought it was fun.
Question from Natural Calamity. Number 1, do you think Assassin's Creed is losing its identity, starting with the change in gameplay with Origins, or do you think this is a breath of fresh air for the series? I think it's a breath of fresh air, but I know I'm like in that small camp on that. I just think that I didn't care about Assassin's Creed until they started doing this every other year and making me miss it, but also taking it a lot more seriously. I think they were really hurting the brand after a while. So I think that the changes have helped it, but I understand people are always going to want to not leave the comfort zone of what Assassin's Creed was for a while.
And I don't know about you, but I was hearing a lot of people, I am not one of these people, by the way, who was tired of the continual Assassin's Creed games. Mm-hmm. And like, oh, it needs to, blah, blah, blah. It needs to hold off. And I've told you this before. If I love something, including Odyssey, if it's 140 hours to me, I'm like, fuck yeah. If it's 150 hours, I'm like, hell, it just keeps getting better. To me, that's awesome. Like, I don't have a end point. So I don't think it's losing its identity, because firmly believe it had already had so many weird stories and weird things that its identity was doing something different each time. Dude, just look back. It was like Assassin's Creed already had houses. Like, this is something I was mad that Valhalla pretended that they were going to have like a settlement, and it's never happened before. Bullshit. It has happened before. Like, they're blowing it. They're making it a little bigger, which is great. But I'm with you. I get what people meant. And I think the one thing, Matty, you might be hearing, and I definitely hear as a real complaint, is that, well, you can't one shot everyone like you could in the original, in most of the Assassin's Creed games. I am not bothered by that, but I absolutely think there's nothing wrong with that complaint. That makes sense. Like, that's valid.
Yeah. I've always viewed the series as, what point in history will a hidden blade be on my wrist in? You know, like, that's how it's always been just like
the world, right?
Yeah, it's always been about the setting. There have been Assassin's Creed stories I have cared about, but they are few and far between. And I hate to sound like a rinse and repeater here, but the one I remember most is Assassin's Creed 2, like a lot of people. And this is before it was even a fad. I'll always tell people the story because, number one, it shows that I was a brat at some points in my life, believe it or not. I remember my mom got me Assassin's Creed 2 for Christmas, and like I said, I apologize to her to this day about it because I was, even though she knows I was a dumb kid, and I was just like, man, like I remember saying to her, like, I didn't put this on my list, and she's like, well, I thought you'd like it, and she was fucking right. I fucking love that game, so mom knows best. But that was before all the hype. Like, I got it from my mom, and it was an amazing game, and even that night I apologized to her a couple of times because I felt
I would say Brotherhood was mine.
Yeah, it was.
Like,
that was
the
like
same
the one
way.
that.
Yeah, it sort of did where I was like, I knew what they were and I played them, but it just whatever. And then it was the one where, like you said, where you get done or you are playing it, you're like, fuck, I like this. Like, I get it.
Question 2 from Natural Calamity: why do you think Xbox is making us wait till July to see more? I think it's the nature of the world, due to what's happening around us, rather.
I see.
It's probably part of the reason that it's on hold. I think they're also very well aware that they had this plan of May, we're doing a show. PlayStation will do it at some point in July. Let them have their time and breathe. Do not try to overlap. We are able to overlap now because E3 does not exist.
Yeah.
Let them have their moment. They might even consider Cyberpunk part of their moment in June because Xbox and CD Projekt Red are in bed. But I think they're waiting because they know they will be in the clear at that point. That Sony, they probably imagine Sony could not announce anything significant during Microsoft's big month. And they may even have something, I don't know if it's a game announcement or anything, but some type of technology or part of the drip feed of news that they've been giving us for the next generation of consoles. Like, imagine if Xbox announces, or I'm sorry, PlayStation does their conference and a week later Xbox like, here's the controller for the Series X. Here's like a full breakdown of what it does. I don't know if they've done that already. You could correct me on that, but
no, you actually bring up a good
like that.
You bring up a good point too, that Microsoft should have or could have shown the input latency issue, the frame rate sync stuff technology they have, which, by the way, Sony has not actually indicated they do have. So there is, and every time anybody asks Microsoft in the past, if you asked Microsoft about Xbox One versus PS4, they'd always have some FUD. And this time, every time they're asked, they're like, we are incredibly happy with the results of there's something about the way they're talking that indicates to me that, at least technically wise, which has been the issues in the past, or one of the issues, technically wise, they feel incredibly happy. So I think that you're right. They're just waiting. They're like, you'll announce something, we'll announce something, And they've got Game Pass, which, dude, did you see? Well, we talked about it. Their numbers for Game Pass are
insane.
They're insane. So I think Microsoft is sitting on Game Pass and
make a big announcement for Game Pass. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, in June, just do that. And they have a lot of means to make up ground quickly for a consumer and keep themselves in the loop while PlayStation does their thing. It will not be as big, of course, as a console reveal event. Don't get me wrong, but it will be enough for them to not look like they're trying to compensate for something PlayStation did. And mind you, that they have now put themselves in a position of great defense where Sony can go first and then Microsoft can follow up, can read what they did and follow up, and maybe, like I guarantee the whole used game video that Sony did that got like millions and millions and millions of views was not a part of their game plan. They saw how Xbox did their thing and messed up, and they capitalized, and that absolutely drove home sales for a lot of people. Which is hilariously petty, but I get it.
And you and I both have admitted it's that way anyway.
Yeah.
Dude, PS4 and Xbox use that DRM for a lot of games right now. So,
yeah. Next question comes from Johnny EC. People say the animations looked rough in the Vampire Bloodlines trailer that debuted yesterday. Since I'm now not well versed in game design, is it possible that animations used in trailers can reflect the quality of animations in game? A developer diary from March stated that they were doing mocap for facial and dialogue animations. So is it possible that the end product will turn out different? Now, it sounds like he's talking about when it comes to the animations, I don't think we saw conversations happening in that new trailer. I believe we only saw action and arms moving and stuff, which I didn't. From what I remember, it didn't look that choppy.
I think he's thinking about possibly the dancing and the faces that was shown by the guy dancing by the Christmas tree. Because I will admit, it looked rough as fuck. So, and I'm a huge, So here's the thing, Matty. The easiest way to get it would be like, and somebody compared it to Last of Us, which I think isn't really fair because Bloodlines is like 1/10 of the team. But if you grab a character, resources, I guess is what I should say. If you grab that trailer and download it and open up and look at one of the faces and pause it and then grab Last of Us and look at one of the, it looks 2 gens behind.
Okay.
I think they failed pretty big in that trailer, and what they should have shown was just some combat. Yeah. Just like, the character running around, because mocapping is a big deal and they have a ton of data to add to faces and stuff like that. So it can change, but
when it comes to mocap, if based off what he says is true, they said the developer diary from March stated they were doing it for facial and dialogue animations. We didn't see that in action from what I recall. Yeah. So I think that could be where their resources have been focused. And we see this if you look, because I couldn't explain to you like the breakdown of the technology, Johnny, but if you look at, say, Greedfall and how slick the dodge animation for that game is compared to some of the other things that you do in the game, like when you're shooting spells out of your hands, you're sort of standing still going like, meh, nah, nah, nah. You're kind of just, vomiting out spells. And then, like, you see the animation where you finish it off, they jump, they twirl, like, you see a little more detail there. You can see in those types of games where they put more money and resources into certain parts of the animation process. So it is possible. It is actually very much going to look different when you get your hands on the end product. It will look better, but if it doesn't look that great now, it doesn't have a date yet. So they may be holding back. And so
that's what I feel is I think it'll be delayed myself, but
I think it'll be a 2021 game for sure.
Yeah.
Just because it seems like a special project. It's like they want to, just get it right.
Yeah, right.
And so, and rightfully so, I need to get on the first one and just really wrap up a playthrough there.
Game is so good.
I know, man. That's why a lot of people were asking me to cover it, and I've been telling people I just don't feel comfortable giving like this uninformed opinion. Like I can't talk about the sequel in this situation and be like, oh, this is good because I can't reference like what was in the first game. That it'll just, people could easily blow holes in my speculation because they'd be like, well, actually, if you do this umpteenth playthrough, you'll see that in this choice here, you can do this in the first game. So they're actually just repeating something. Yeah, like I just, I'd love to avoid that. So I had to just get on playing the first one. All right. Next question comes from Ben Jam. If you were on the show Survivor on CBS, oh my, all right, this is an interesting one. How long do you think you would last? Do you think you have the stamina, endurance, as well as charisma and persuasiveness to make it to the very end? Dude, I haven't watched fucking Survivor in so long. I don't even know what the game's about.
You mean the show? It's a show, yeah.
I said game, but show. I meant. Thank you.
I would not last. No.
What do you have to do? Do you have to like hunt on the show? Like, is that part of it?
You have to get along. So Survivor is basically, you also have to get along with everybody. And it would, yeah, somebody would end up dead in a river, and they'd do an investigation and find out that I'd murdered them. Like, there's like, especially when it's like that kind of thing, there's literally no way I would make it. There's somebody I would hate, and I would just be like, yeah, we're having it out. I'm bashing your head in with a fucking rock. I could never dude, I'm not lying, man. Yeah, you don't, I like those kind of shows, Maddie, are like the worst human parts in video form. I hate them. I hate Bachelor. I hate, because to me, it's like a human is 24 hours a day, every decision, but we have a tendency in humanity right now to pick apart 1/4 of a second, say you're a bad person, or you're this kind of person because I saw this 1/4 of a second. Those shows are predatory on that. You know, they show the worst. The people are waiting for the worst things, and I would be the person I would feed right into it, and I would get kicked off. Yeah, nobody'd let me stay on. It'd be a disaster.
Man, would I be? I don't know. I'm definitely, I definitely get along with people, but I've been told by a lot of my friends and my girlfriend that I wear my expression on my face, which is like one of my, I think, a better quality of mine, because if I don't like someone, you know it. You absolutely know it.
Right.
Not even in tone or attitude. It's just when they're like talking, if I'm looking at them. It's not like I'm giving them a stink face. Just I may, like, it's why I've had so many people think I don't like them. And I'm like, no. Like, that's just, I must have like a face that just tells you I'm a very hateful individual. According to my friends and my girlfriend, yeah, I make it very clear if I don't like someone. And I think that would work against me on a show where you had to
fake it all the time.
Yeah. I can't fake it for shit. I don't like being a faker. I don't have any interest in being fake.
I would also probably just be very, like, if I felt that the person couldn't be choked in the middle of the night, I would probably just stop talking. So it'd be quite easy to tell if I didn't like somebody, because it'd just be silent. You know, there would just be no discussion. And yeah, I think those shows show that, you know, just how like still somebody has to be, but they're so fake that. Of course, we could go on, tag team, pretend to fucking like everybody, and just fucking work through the entire thing.
Do a team effort there, like, and just make sure that both of us get to the end, and then like once we're the last two, all right,
we'll do
dropping out,
we'll flip a coin. We'll just be like, flip a coin, whoever wins wins. There we go. Just totally piss everybody off.
Yeah. Skooma Vendor asks, with the news that the Glass content update for Battlefront 2 is out, what do you guys think those teams are working on now / DICE as a studio?
Does he mean the multiplayer one that we talked about? The multiplayer?
DICE's Battlefront 2. Yeah, they wrapped up. They did their final update for the game with Scarif.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and he's saying, what do you think they're working on now? I believe the report came in that they're working on a new Battlefield game.
I think I did see that last week. So
I'm pretty sure, yeah. So that is your answer. A lot of people thought this didn't mean Battlefront 3 is happening, but I think they're smart to let the work they did and put into Battlefront 2, which is way longer than I expected. That game just got its last update, and it's nearing, in I think 5 months, it'll be its 3-year anniversary. So they put a lot of time and money into it. I would not be surprised if they wanted to just let Battlefront 2 rest for a little bit, because they did fix that game pretty well, and then some. So yeah, they're going to do Battlefield next, and then I imagine you could expect Battlefront 3. And Battlefront 3 better be, because we always talk about it with Battlefront, like, and actually I think just any DICE game, that when they move on to the next one, don't start from the ground up. Like, take what was in 2, bring it over for the most part, and then build.
That is actually exactly what I was going to say. I was waiting for you to, because I was going to say that. So I agree. Yes, that has to happen. At some point, absolutely has these guys got to start doing it.
Because they added too much awesome stuff into, like just conceptually, like they had instant action finally in Battlefront 2 again. They had offline play. They did a campaign. Wasn't that good? But they, you know, the biggest requested feature, and I think the reason they're waiting is because right now we're in between gens. By the time they do Battlefront 3, hopefully we can be fully on next gen, and hopefully they can finally do Galactic Conquest. That, I think, is like the final push to get Battlefront out and like complete, not only getting a Battlefront 3, I should say, out, but also doing Galactic Conquest by DICE in there. That would send the Battlefront community up a wall. I would freak out if I heard they were doing Galactic Conquest. But yeah, I mean, they seem to be listening to the community throughout all of their updates, but also, I mean, one of the biggest additions in 2 was the clones and the droids. You know, finally we had that. So yeah. Okay, we got another 2 questions from Natural Calamity. Number 3 from him is, do you think Microsoft will... What? Do you think Microsoft will fox this fuck up and have its developers get some gameplay relatively soon, or at least Ubisoft? What does fox, like, fix?
Yeah.
I mean, it is. Yeah, fix. I read that too literally. I know some games from this gameplay event already got gameplay. Like, one of them was that cyberpunk top-down shooter. I think it's called the Advent
IGN.
or something.
Yeah, Accent or Advent or whatever. Yeah.
I'm sure Ubisoft, within the next few weeks, we will see something gameplay-wise from them. I think they got a little bit of a fire lit under their ass. All right. Question 4 is a left field beard question for you, I'm guessing, Karak. How do you maintain your beard, and how do you keep your haters away? My girlfriend and family keep telling me to shave it and was wondering if you experienced that sort of thing.
Out the beard? Fuck. Yeah, I thought he meant YouTube, like how do you keep the haters away? Dude, my wife hates the beard. Oh my God. Fucking despises it. Yeah. No, don't do much. Trim it. Beard oil if you have dry skin, which can pop up. Beard, people don't realize your beard isn't your fucking head. There's no oil on your like your beard will dry out your face fast because you're not shaving. And so it's like a lot of people have to have beard oil at some time. But yeah, haters, nobody's going to tell me if they hate my beard. I'm really caustic. Like I can, if one of my friends, I just do not, first of all, they wouldn't care because I don't have friends like that at all. Like they can do whatever they want and I can too. I just don't think any of my friends would tell me they dislike something I did because they'd just be like, that's him. If I say something, I'm not going to hear the end of it because he's just going to be like, motherfucker. But my wife hates it. She hates it. I mean, she hates it with a passion. It definitely affects like closeness, but I don't care. Dude, I went fucking like 30 years where I couldn't have one. And so like when I decided to have one, I was like, I'm going all out.
Oh no,
it's bristly.
Absolutely.
It's bristly though. I can see why somebody wouldn't want to kiss it, or kiss you. I mean, we kiss, but you know what I mean? Like this is raw on somebody's face. Yeah, like it's not, it's because it's bristly beard skin. Yeah, it's bristly. Well, it's like you've got a mustache. Somebody's going to feel that. And then you add a giant beard to it. Somebody's going to feel that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
that becomes a thing.
For me, I, as a lot of people know, and I know you know, I didn't have any semblance of facial hair for a while. And then part of that was because my friends on the other end of the spectrum, we roast everything imaginable for each other. Anything is a viable target, literally anything. So that's why I don't really have like a sensitivity problem, just because like I have close friends who we will just annihilate each other. It's fun. But yeah, like they used to call me Dusty because whenever I shaved my lip and then it would start to come in, I agree with them. It would literally look like dust was forming on my lip
because it was so fine.
Yeah, it was just that. It was just very fine facial hair. And so I'd always shave it off. And my girlfriend was like, why don't you try to just keep growing it out? And I was like, well, because my mustache will grow, but my chin does not at all. And I stayed patient, and it kind of just came in a little bit. And it doesn't connect here, like along the side of the face, but it's a nice goatee. It's a nice sharp goatee. Now anytime I guess it looks fairly it makes me look older because anytime I post like in my video, I'll edit in older footage, and let's say in that older footage my face is in it, people will see that and go like, oh my god, it's baby Matty. I'm like, dude, that was like 3 years ago. Yeah, but I guess it makes a difference.
It's funny because
I don't have that issue that this guy seems to have of haters.
Yeah, I don't know if you have this, but I would definitely say that like while my close significant other isn't a fan, I do get a lot of like YouTube fans. Like girls dig
Oh
it.
yeah.
Which is
I didn't know that's
weird.
what you meant. I thought you meant like comments. I'll see comments like saying you're like whenever you have your face in a video, people are like, "Wow, what a beard." I didn't know you meant girls.
Oh, dude, yeah, you'll get like I'll get yeah. It's definitely that's what's weird is like I think it's almost like when you see something from afar, you're fine with it, but then like if you have to deal with it every day, you're like, dude, his beer's scratchy or whatever on me, stuff like that. But and some people like grizzly dudes and some people don't. So
Gotcha.
that's what my wife is Asian and they just don't do facial hair. Like, and I don't mean they, I mean her entire family. Nobody's got facial hair. They don't like it. They consider it like it looks unkempt. Even if I did it perfect.
I'm sure family reunions are great with you involved.
I don't do family reunions. Not
with them. No, like not like
no, I mean, her side of the family is just exploded all over the world. So like some live in China, some live here. So it's I mean, I'd see her her close mom, and she would never say anything to me because she's cool with that kind of. Yeah, she's very sweet. They're all very cool. But I just mean I don't think she's ever even dated anybody with facial hair, and certainly not somebody who looks like they fucking took Wilt Chamberlain and glued him to his chin. Like, so yeah.
All right. We're almost done here. Brody writes in saying, do you guys have a favorite single track from a video game? Oh man, there's so much good music, but the
Mass Effect 1's menu music is my favorite music of all time. No, I don't mean main menu. I mean, sorry, map. That fucking it's my favorite music.
Yeah, creates a feeling that just hard to replicate. I'm gonna say Persona 4 New Days. It happens. It's like that. I don't know. It just that whole soundtrack as a whole creates this. I didn't know for all of my life music played in the back of my head that would represent social moments, and that game just created a physical manifestation of that, essentially. And it's not like I'll go out with my friends and the soundtrack's playing in my head, but when I hear that soundtrack, I think of not only moments in game, but moments in my own life. So that's absolutely.
So that would
track.
be your theme song. Like we joke and say, if you walked in a room, what would your theme? That would be your theme song.
New Days.
Is what you're saying.
New Days.
Yeah, gotcha.
For sure.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Ross says, I've been playing Red Dead Redemption 2's epilogue, and I have no idea how to have fun. So far, I hunt, go to towns, get bored, kill everyone, escape. Did you guys find any enjoyment in the game that didn't involve story missions?
Yeah.
What did you find?
All that was fun to me, but I get why it wouldn't be to multiple people. Yeah. I mean, everything he described sounds completely boring the way he described it, by the way, too. He's like, there's nothing in the, when you read it even, there's nothing in this game that is fun. You just hunt and run around and shoot people. And it's like, yes, it makes sense. It wasn't fun.
I will give you a hot tip, Ross, and maybe you're not immature like me, but one of my favorite things from I was getting footage from Watch Dogs 2 for today's video, so I saw I was even doing it then, and I did it in GTA 5. One of my favorite things to do in these games is to see how people in the world react to things. I've spent hours in Red Dead Redemption 2 just pissing people off. Not real life people, right? Not Red Dead Online. In game, because you can target people and taunt them. And I just loved venting the what if fantasies that just fly by in your head. What if I walked in a bar and just called some guy a fucking asshole across the room? Would he get up and come and fight me? And then what happens when I square up? Obviously I could take out my pistol and shoot him and that's it, and the cops chase you, but that's boring. I love to exchange fists and see what happens there. Just something about that, going, you're riding your horse along. Here comes a carriage the other way on the other side of the street. And, they stop. They're like, top of the morning. You're like, go fuck yourself. And, and just to see how they react. I think that is so insanely fun. And it's absolutely immature. But in all those games, I just enjoy watching the world react. So try to do smaller things. I know a lot of fun for, Noah was one of our hosts, and he loves Rockstar games. And he had played a ton of Red Dead Redemption because like there was poker in the game. Like some days he'd just sit down and do poker, but sometimes he'd just come up with his own stories in his head and have fun with them. So it's a sandbox game. I would approach it that way. Don't look for tasks. Look, if this is the only game you can play, then look for like the finer things. Like I said, challenging people to fights is hilarious. I get a kick out of it every time. All right, last set of questions comes from a Great Ape 51. Matty, with your recent review of 76 and Wastelanders, I'm guessing that didn't change your recommended play order of 3D Fallout games. Yes, no. Thanks for the podcast and all the other content you guys put out on a regular basis. Continue to stay well and safe. We hope you do the same, Great Ape. Thank you for the kind message. Yes, so 76 did not move up any list of mine of 3D Fallout games you should play. It's hard to make a list for Fallout games because everyone's so hard on about New Vegas being number one that if I dare say 3 is number one for me, people are more concerned about that being mine rather than just me discussing why I like 3. So it kind of just, it's why I don't like at times talking about Fallout at all on the channel. I have to go in bursts because it's such like a oppressive discussion to have sometimes, if I'm quite frank. So yeah, for me, it would be 3 number 1, New Vegas number 2, 3 Fallout 4, 476 Wastelanders, not 76 as a whole. As I mentioned in my review, part of the issue with 76 is that the vanilla game still exists. So as they're announcing their roadmap next week, so we will be talking about that then. But yeah, for now, it could, it has the biggest chance to like leap over Fallout 4, just because. I said in my review as well, it's kind of embarrassing that 76 Wastelanders introduced way more skill checks that had moments in the quest that reacted to that than Fallout 4, which was a single player role playing game. And I'm not accounting for Far Harbor, which really only had like a couple of skill checks. But it just blows my mind that game did more. So if they continue to build on that, then I think 76 has a chance to leapfrog Fallout 4. And when they do that, I should also mention they have to top Far Harbor, which is one of my favorite Bethesda DLCs, and they have to have significant repercussions to my storyline at the very minimum. Obviously, they can't do the world, but storyline repercussions based off my choices. That's going to be a tough task, so I don't see the list moving. We'll see. But yeah, right now, nothing changes with my play order for 3D Fallout games. You could also throw in Tactics, the beat 'em up Diablo style Fallout game that I consider a guilty pleasure. That game's fun. It's not a Fallout game, but it's fun. I would recommend that one too if you're looking for something really different. All right, Karak, those are all our podcast questions for the week. We had a quite an active show here. We hope you enjoyed. Is there anything you want to toss in here at the end, my friend?
Trying to think of the tagline, the hashtag.
Yeah. I thought that's what you would say, so I had one prepped.
Oh, do you? Go for it.
No, I was kidding. I don't.
Oh man. You know what's weird? We talk about a bunch of shit, and then like when it comes to the end, I mean, sometimes I'll be like, boom, this is it, and then sometimes I just won't have one, even though we talked about a bunch of shit.
Well, because usually it's easy when we have like a good joke that we have that like starts in the beginning of the show. And...
Oh my God, I've got it.
All right, let's hear it.
You could do hashtag dust for your fucking
there
chin.
We go. There we go.
Your mustache.
Done.
Hashtag
done.
We'll know.
Dust.
We'll know if somebody got that. Hashtag dust.
This will always sit in my head forever.
That's awesome.
Dust. All right, you got this deep. Let us know. Fire away on Twitter. And we'd love to see how many of you got to the last possible second of our show. We appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely.
And now we wrap it up. Thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you guys next week. Peace out.
Peace out.